Today we are going to be doing our makeup and discussing Q1 2026 most anticipated releases. Okay, it is once again me versus the lighting in this place, so you're just gonna have to bear with me. But first, I'm gonna go ahead and start with the first step of my makeup routine, which is going to be our primer. It's been a while since I've done a full face, and so I'm just gonna go with some of my basics, the ones that I love. And we're going to use the Essence Jelly Grip Primer. I'm a huge primer believer. If you're new to this channel, I love using primer. I feel like it makes my makeup last so much longer. And the first book we're going to talk about is Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. If you're not familiar, Jeanette McCurdy, very famous early 2000s Disney. Is it Disney or Nickelodeon? iCarly. Anyway, she's the co-star of iCarly. Nickelodeon, that's right. Because there was a lot that happened. It came out in the last few years about the kind of corruption and the weirdness that happened with Nickelodeon. She was a part of that, and she has her own, like, pretty intense journey. I read her memoir the year it came out, which is called I'm Glad My Mom Died. She's considered, like, very polarizing with her writing, but to me, like, it's very incredibly well done. And I'm sure cathartic for her because a lot of it is very heavy. So I will say that. And this one is no different because it's kind of discussing a morally questionable relationship between a college student and her professor. And I think it'll be interesting to read. I think it kind of reminds me conceptually of like My Dark Vanessa, if you've read that one, where it kind of like explores the power dynamics of that and how that affects people and just the general concept. So really excited for that one. That one comes out when you're watching this, probably already out. I'm doing Q1, so like January, February, and March releases. But don't worry, there's actually like a ton to talk about. So I have a lot. And I'm going to mix these two foundations. So this e.l.f. one is the Halo Glow Liquid Filter. It's more like light coverage. And then the ColourPop Pretty Fresh foundation. I don't have a ton of this left, so I'm just gonna like make it work on my face. And then the next book that I'm talking about is To Ride a Rising Storm, and this is by Monoquill Black Goose. This is a sequel to Shape a Dragon's Breath, which I read a couple years ago for our book club. This is an indigenous, I like to kind of summarize it as indigenous Fourth Wing, but better because I'm not a huge Fourth Wing fan, if you know me. I've talked about that before. No hate to those who do love, but it's just not my thing. But I'm glad I got a lot of people into reading, so for that I am happy. But this is way better, and it follows like a young indigenous woman who has like this power of like dragon taming, and that's not super common anymore. It's been a long time since like they have seen dragons, and let alone had people able to like train them. And she gets kind of like scouted and taken by the colonizers in this world and has to go and be enrolled in their boarding school against her will. She kind of volunteers but kind of doesn't at the same time, you know what I mean? I'm really interested in that, and I'm excited for some sequels that are coming this year to some of my favorite books. I gave that one 5 stars, or I think I gave it like 4.5. There was a couple of things that I felt like could have been better for the first one, but either way, I'm really excited for this second version, or this second edition, rather. Next, as always, going in with my CoverGirl Tried and True Concealer. I think I need a new one because this one's like running out. Oh, and that book comes out January 27th. And then that's really my last two for January. And then we're going to move into February, which has a ton. Also, if you follow me on Instagram, I usually post like a games and books releasing in that month that I'm excited for. This is kind of just going to be a more elaborate, longer version of that. But check out my Instagram posts if you don't mind. I love making them. It's really like a fun creative outlet for me. And this one I'm going to talk about next is How to Kill a Guy in 10 Dates by Shaylee Thompson. This one's interesting because it's kind of described as like a rom-com mixed with horror, which is not something I typically ever read. So that off the bat intrigued me. My friend Books and Lala is the one who mentioned this, and otherwise it wouldn't have been on my radar. I think it was like on either Aardvark or Book of the Month, and that's kind of how I get in touch with my new releases too. But yeah, it's described as a terrifying horror romance in which a woman gets caught in the middle of a murder spree at a speed dating event and must use her encyclopedic knowledge of the horror genre to make it as a real-life final girl. That sounds crazy. And that comes out on February 3rd, which I think a couple of these that I'm about to talk about are on the 3rd. I don't know if there's like, I'm not familiar with the publishing industry at all in any capacity, but I wonder if there's like certain days that it's normal for things to come out, because I feel like a lot of these come out on the same dates. This next one is This Ain't Our First Rodeo, and I'm in my cowboy romance era. This is by Liara Tamani, and this one is kind of like a second chance romance, which every once in a while I like that trope. I'm not a huge romance girl just in general, but I typically like more like contemporary romance where there's like something else going on, or there's like maybe some more complex family dynamics or like a mystery kind of woven in there. I like there to be a little bit of something else. I am going to go in with my really well-loved CoverGirl loose powder. And then you guys know I normally just go under my eyes and on the places where I put concealer with that. And this one is described when life lassos Josie and Sean back together 3 years after their dreamy first date. Their second chance I love is anything but easy. A big-hearted rodeo romance set in Houston, Texas. Josie's family owns several fancy restaurants and then just opened a new one right out the side of the stadium. Josie's expected to stay inside the restaurant and help take over the empire. Classic Hallmark, you know. Sean is a bull rider, and his mom sadly passed away, doing everything he can to live up to his rodeo champion stepfather's high expectations. It's a contemporary Western love story, and I don't know, it just sounds interesting. And that one comes out on February 3rd as well. And then that powder is not quite as like stable as I need it to be because I'm running out. So I'm going to go in on the top a little bit with this Essence Brighten Up powder. This is my favorite like setting powder or like touch up powder because I just feel like it's so lightweight and I love it. All right, next I have Nightshade and Oak, Molly O'Neill. O'Neill. And this one is more like mythology, fantasy. It's also like queer romance as well. So this one is described as an Iron Age goddess must grapple with becoming human in this delightful historical fantasy of myth and magic from the author of instant hit Green Teeth. Have not read that. I'm gonna go in with this liquid bronzer from Essence, Drop of Sunshine, in the shade, I don't think it has a shade. But with these, I typically like to use a brush, and I like to put it on the back of my hand to kind of control more where it's gonna go, because I don't like to put a ton, but I just need a little bit of color. Your girl has not been in the sun enough this year. Okay, so this one I'm interested in. It kind of reminds me of The Witch's Heart, which is something I would compare to like Norse, like I think God of War story, which I've been getting more into those. I'm not like by nature a mythology kind of person, but lately, I don't know, I've been really into Hades too, specifically, so maybe I'm changing my ways. But anyways, this is described as when Malt, the goddess of death, is accidentally turned into a human by a wayward spell, she finds she's ill-equipped to deal with the trials of a mortal life. After all, why would a goddess need to know how to gather food or light a fire? Trapped in a body that's frustratingly feeble, she's forced to team up with Bellis, a warrior daughter of Boudica, on a perilous journey across Roman-occupied Britain to the afterlife to restore her powers. Ooh, we love a good restoration journey. This kind of also reminds me of Gods of Jade and Shadow by Silva Moreno Garcia. Kind of like human with god of death kind of like situation, forced to team up kind of thing. And that also, guess what, comes out February 3rd. How are we going to read all these on February 3rd, folks? Okay, next up we have Books and Bewitchment by Isla Jewel. And we're going to go ahead and do our blush, which is this ColourPop, very cute packaging, liquid blush in the shade Super Shy. We're going to use a teeny amount of this so we don't look like a clown. This one, not a ton to say about this one. This one also comes out February 3rd. I think this is our last one on that day. And this is more of like a witchy, like cozy rom-com. But I'm very interested. I love like any sort of fantasy that kind of takes place in a regular location but has like a magical element to it. Like Lantern of Lost Memories, for example, is like a film studio that is magical. And then like Water Moon is another one where it's like a magical store. The Allergot Dream Department magical store. I feel like I just got an idea to make a whole like magical location book recommendation. I'm writing that down literally right now. But anyways, this is like a magical video store, which sounds super cool. And she has a pet parrot. Like, that's so interesting. So yeah, this one just seems like a good vibe. Basically, she's having to like move her video store, and then turns out that it's like her new landlord is like using it as a front for like this magical. Oh, she's turning the video store into a bookshop. I'm so sorry. But only to discover a powerful magic that's been lying dormant and a forbidden love she can't resist. It's kind of taking a darker turn. Mostly we've been doing cutesy romances. This one is called For Human Use by Sarah G. Pierce. This one comes out on February 10th. And I'm going to go ahead and add my powder blush on top of all of this. And we're going to be using CoverGirl shade Iced Plum. I know I still use these guys. I know these were like super popular years and years ago. I still like them. I think they're really good. But this one is like a horror science fiction with like kind of a romance twist on it. I don't know like how romancy we're going to get. But it's a debut novel. It's described as like genre bending, which I like. I like books that combine multiple genres. And this one is Modern Dating is Dead. Finding a human connection online has become impossible. Even enter a dating app that matches people with dead bodies. Yes, you heard that correctly. Somehow it has taken the world by storm. Millions of users are convinced that life with a corpse presents a better alternative to conventional relationships. Foiling against Liv's popularity, Virtue and Capital superstar Tom Williamson, whose company is funding Liv, isn't buying it. Mostly because dating is an embalmed cadaver, let alone monetizing it as obscene. Believing that Liv is the future, Auden White, the insufferable visionary behind the app, begins demanding more and more funding, quickly making enemies with Tom. No secret that Tom struggles with people that are alive, but when he has a chance meeting a woman who knows Auden and his secrets best, Mara Reed, he realizes everything is about to change for all three of them. So kind of seems like, you know, some people are into this and some people aren't. Some people are trying to stop it. Some people are fighting for it. So that'll be interesting. Okay, we're going to do our powder bronzer now, which is going to be the NYX Buttermilk Bronzer. These smell so good in Butter Biscuit. And then look how cute it is. And then we're just going to use our brush to tap that in. And then we're going to talk about the Astral Library by Kate Quinn. This one is a fantasy, more like historical fantasy again, and magical realism, books about books. You know, I'm super into that whole like subgenre. This one comes out on February 17th. Alex Watson has learned one lesson from her barren childhood in the foster care system. Unlike people, books will never let you down. Working 3 dead-end jobs to make ends meet and knowing college is a pipe dream, Alex takes nightly refuge in the high-vaulted reading room at the Boston Public Library, escaping into her favorite fantasy novels, daydreaming, until the day she stumbles through a hidden door and meets the librarian, the ageless acerbic guardian of a hidden library where the desperate and the lost escape new lives. I love a hidden library. One of my favorite books of all time is The Starless Sea, which kind of has the same vibe. Okay, last February one, we are going to talk about Agnes Albert's Magical Cat Shelter. And while I talk about this one, I'm going to go in with my powder brush and just kind of like blend out my bronzer and blush to make sure it's all like good. This is by Heather Fawcett. And this one is described as a woman runs a cat rescue in 1920s Montreal, turns to a grouchy but charming wizard to help save the shelter in this heartwarming, cozy fantasy. We love a cozy fantasy, and we love cats and cat rescues. Agnes Aubert leads a meticulously organized life she likes it that way. As the proudly type A manager of a much-needed cat rescue charity, she's devoted her life to finding forever homes for the cats. Oh, this is the one where she's forced to move. I was getting these confused. Forced to move the cat shelter, Agnes learns that her new landlord is using her charity as a front for an internationally renowned and thoroughly disreputable magic shop. Owned by the disorganized and not to mention self-absorbed, irritating, and also handsome Havelock Renard, magician and failed Dark Lord. That sounds incredible, and that comes out also on February 17th. All right, moving into March releases, we have The Fox and the Devil by Kirsten White. This comes out March 10th, and this is described as a fantasy horror romance. An obsession with a beautiful serial killer entangles a vampire hunter's daughter in an immortal sapphic romance in this enthralling gothic fantasy. Gothic fantasy, vampires, sign me up. Okay, I'm going to go in with my highlighter now, and we're going to use the ColourPop pressed powder highlighter in Minted and my highlighter brush. And the next book we're going to talk about is Whidbey by T. Kira Madden, which comes out also on March 10th. This one is described as a stunning literary achievement and portrait of 3 women connected through one man in the aftermath of his murder, the explosive and highly anticipated debut novel from the beloved award-winning memoirist. Birdie Chang didn't know anything about Whidbey Island when she chose to chase it, only that it was about as far away as she could get from her own life. A woman on the run, desperate for an escape from the headlines back home, and the look of concern in her girlfriend's eyes, and from Calvin Boyer, the man who abused her as a child, who's now resurfaced. Birdie isn't the only girl Calvin harmed back then. There's also Lindsay King, former reality TV star. And then another girl, Mary Beth, who receives a shocking phone call from the police. Her only son has been murdered. So it sounds like a kind of like, it's described as a thriller, mystery, literary fiction. I love multiple characters kind of like tied together by a tragedy and how that kind of affects every single person differently and brings them together. So I think this one will be really good. And I'm going to set my skin with the Milani Make It Last setting spray. And the next book is Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall. This one looks very interesting and also comes out March 10th. I like the cover a lot. It's described as Gideon the Ninth meets Moby Dick, which sounds crazy. Earth is a ruin, and the scattered remnants of humanity scavenge what they can from the stars under the watchful auspices of a grab bag of collectives, corporations, and churches, which are all that remains of once called society. Having long exhausted any conventional sources of energy, life in the solar system is now sustained by a volatile hallucinogenic substance called spermaceti, which is harvested from the brains of vast cetacean-like leviathans that swim the atmospheric currents of Jupiter. That's a lot. Interesting. It's described as sci-fi horror, and I'm very in. I'm going to curl my eyelashes and tell you about Nobody's Baby by Olivia Waite, which also comes out March 10th. This is the sequel to Murder by Memory, which is a like sci-fi novella that I read last year, which was really good. I liked it a lot. It was, I mean, kind of straightforward. It's like a mystery sci-fi kind of series, and this one is just a continuation, I believe. It's described as Becky Chambers meets Miss Marple in the second entry of this cozy, yeah, I would also say it's cozy, sci-fi mystery series helmed by a formidable, no-nonsense auntie of a detective. Yeah, in the first one, you're following, like, this detective lady, and you can essentially take different forms of consciousness by using books. So, like, that's basically it. I don't know how else to describe it. Welcome to HMS Fairweather, Her Majesty's most luxury interstellar passenger liner. Room and board are included. New bodies are graciously provided upon request, and should you desire a rest between lifetimes, your mind shall be most carefully preserved in glass in the library, shielded from every danger. Very interesting. Haunted Train, perhaps. And then I'm going to go in with my Essence/Princess. And we're going to talk about Anna Morada by Ava Reed, which we love Ava Reed. This one looks really interesting. This one is described as a visionary and atmospheric gothic fantasy. Okay, this is hard to do and talk at the same time. And filled with necromancy, vengeance, and soul-consuming love, the first in a duology from Ava Reed, Once there was an island where the dead walked the earth and 7 noble houses ruled by the arcane secrets of necromancy. That sounds really interesting, and I love Ava Reed, so I will definitely be reading that one. Then we have The Plans I Have for You by Leigh Sanders. This one comes out March 17th. Feminine Rage, Cancel Culture, and Suffocating Societal Pressure, a cutting and brazen thriller about 2 Asian American women on a quest for revenge after a public shaming pushes them to the limit. For fans of Yellowface and Counterfeit. I did read Yellowface and I really loved it, and I love R.F. Kuang. This is like a mystery thriller adult novel, and I love the cover and I'm really excited for it. Okay, last thing before we're ready, I'm gonna do some clear brow gel, also by Essence. I don't do a ton to my eyebrows. I just kind of like to brush them up to tame them slightly. And we're going to talk about Wolfworm by T. Kingfisher. And this is March 24th. I pretty much try to read anything that T. Kingfisher comes out with. They come out with a lot of books, and a lot of them are very different, but their overall writing style I really like. This one is kind of in the same wheelhouse that they write mostly, which is like horror fantasy, gothic stuff. It is described as something darker than the devil stalks the North Carolina woods in Wolfworm, a new gothic masterpiece from T. Kingfisher. The year is 1899, and Sonia Wilson is a scientific illustrator without work, prospects, or hope when the reclusive Dr. Halder offers her a position illustrating his vast collection of insects. Interesting. With the aid of the housekeeper and the local healer, Sonia discovers that Halder's entomological studies have taken him down a dark road full of parasitic maggots. Ew! That burrow into human flesh, and that his monstrous experiments may grow to encompass his newest illustrator. Ooh, that sounds creepy. I guess I hadn't read that whole one before. I just kind of added it because it was T. Kingfisher. And then the last one, we have The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. And this one, I am just wanting to like finish reading all of Abby Jimenez's stuff. I've read a couple from her, but this is the sequel to Say You'll Remember Me. And I really want to read these. It's like contemporary romance. I don't know if I should read the description of the second one because it might be spoilers, so I'll read the description of the first one so you'll remember me. There might be no such thing as a perfect guy, but Xavier comes disastrously close. A gorgeous veterinarian giving Greek god vibes, all while cuddling a tiny kitten. Immediately, yes. That is until Xavier opens his mouth and proves even sculpted gods can say absolutely wrong thing. Unless, of course, he can admit he's made a mistake. But after one incredible and seemingly endless date, possibly the best in history, Samantha is forced to admit the truth that her family's in crisis and any kind of relationship would be impossible. So Abby Jimenez usually does like a really great job of incorporating like family dynamics and struggles into her books. This one, I believe, her mother has dementia or Alzheimer's, I forget which, and she's kind of having to grapple with that and deciding whether or not a relationship is for her. So that is the first one, and I'm excited to read that one and the second one. Thank you guys for sticking around and listening to my 2026 books on my radar for Q1 and just getting ready together. It's always nice. So thank you guys, and I will see you next time.